Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we're now seeing some even more kind of big news coming out when it comes to PlayStation. Now, as you guys probably know, there's been a huge, storm going on when it comes to some of the PlayStation subsidiaries. We've seen the layoffs, we've seen kind of hostile takeovers, and we've seen also PlayStation, more so Sony figureheads, trying to go and insert themselves into the specific games to make sure the games are running well, working well, and at the end of the day, well, just working. Like, they want to make sure they're making money, they're developing things, they're doing good. But right now we're seeing even bigger deals when it comes to Bungie. Now, we made a video as of this as of yesterday where Bungie is now in like the midst of a potential hostile takeover, and basically the game's not making money. There was big leaks that came out in terms of leagues and everything else too. It's just a lot. It's all around a lot. So it's rough. Is all around actually really rough. So we're going to talk to you guys even more, because even more stuff came out as of today when it comes to Marathon, when it comes to other various games, and it's rough because it seems like games are going to be being cut. There's going to be big major shakeups. Leadership is being canceled, and at this point right now, Bungie is still in the imminent fear of being taken over by PlayStation. Now, obviously, as you guys probably know, PlayStation is still technically the owner regardless, but it kind of shows to like they having the organic, homegrown ownership and like basically directors that kind of built old school games like Halo or kind of drove these connections versus like maybe some random Sony figurehead. So a lot of stuff's coming over here. A lot of big games might be being canceled. We're going to talk about this all throughout today. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch room down below. We have the Samsung pre-order link and giveaway down below. If you guys want to enter on that one, there's a link down below in the comment section, etc. And of course, we also have all the other various links too as well. Let's go dive on into the video itself. So as I mentioned, right now, Bungie's been working on quite a few different games. They're working right now on Marathon, and that probably seems like one of the more anticipated games out there. Now, we have not really seen a new Bungie IP in a while. Initially, they obviously had Halo, and then after that, they then also had Destiny and Destiny 1, Destiny 2. And while they've obviously made games throughout the year, it's also been the kind of the big main like focus points of their company. And Marathon was announced on a PlayStation showcase about like 1 or 2 years ago, and it had huge reception. The game looked really cool, looked very unique, and kind of seemed very intriguing. Some people were assuming it was like a looter shooter, like an Escape from Tarkov or that new Call of Duty game mode, and some people don't fully know. But this is kind of meant to be like the next big step in Bungie. Destiny's kind of run its course. We're kind of waiting to see if there's going to be a Destiny 3. I would be okay with it, and right now, Destiny 2 has been on a very shaky spot, not being as profitable, player base has fallen off, the game overall reception's not doing so hot, and Sony's concerned about their profitability. But right now, we're seeing that Bungie replaced the Marathon director amid the leadership shakeup with also big fears of layoffs, and everything is even more scary on the PlayStation side. The former Valorant game director Joe Zeigling is replacing Christopher Barnett now. So there's a lot of stuff to go talk about this, but I'm intrigued because this is one of my more anticipated PlayStation games. So amid the ongoing anxiety within Bungie following layoffs as of last year, the studio is now preparing for another shakeup, this time on Marathon, its upcoming service game intended as its next step beyond Destiny as a whole. According to multiple sources familiar with the matter, Bungie is in the midst of shifting around its creative leadership on Marathon, and including removing long-term Bungie designer Christopher Barrett from the game director role. IGN learned that he has been replaced by former Valorant game director Joe Ziegler, who left Riot Games for Bungie in 2022 and has now taken foothold in the Marathon game. IGN has reached out to Bungie for comment on whether or not Barrett will remain with the company, and no one knows if he got laid off or not. So Bungie has not responded to these requests, but at the same time, Ziegler confirmed that his employment as game director on X and Twitter. So basically right now we have a mystery employee that no one knows what happened to. And I'm not sure if this may be like a last call, or this also might be a Sony call as well. As you guys know, Sony is kind of hovering over Bungie to go and see if it's going to work or not. And at the end of the day, it seems like right now Sony's going to probably do a takeover on Bungie. They're not really making much money, and right now we're basically assuming if the next either Marathon doesn't do well, if it comes out in time, or as well if the Destiny 2 expansion doesn't do good as well, PlayStation itself and Sony figureheads are taken on over. And it's kind of a big deal because Marathon's probably the next most anticipated game. We do have Wolverine, which I think people are going to like, but if I want to say for general gamers as a whole, or a potential like random out-of-the-park hit, I do think Marathon is it. For the last 9 months, I've been working on Marathon as the game director, he wrote. We're still baking, but I'm excited to share with you more info on the game as we get closer and closer to bringing it all to you guys. Once it's going on, those sources were telling IGN that Bungie is pouring resources into getting Marathon out of the door. So they're going hardcore. They're almost maybe even kind of dipping out a little bit on Destiny 2 to be like, hey, Destiny might be starting to be a flop. Let's try something new. The game direction has shifted somewhat behind the new leadership, one source has said, including moving away from custom characters in favor of selectable cast heroes, which I'm not sure if we like. Some people are maybe assuming it might be more of like a FPS game now, because we haven't seen too much gameplay, more of like, say, like a Valorant shooter. Obviously, it would make sense to have Valorant tied with it. But also then some people are assuming it's still like a looter shooter like Tarkov. No one knows. So Marathon over Matter. So while upcoming Destiny 2 expansion, the final shape is also still being prioritized, there are growing fears and rumors that layoffs were going to probably go and happen the second it's all done, which is horrible. Like, imagine you're working on a project, you have your job, and at this point, like, you're going to be probably losing it after this next expansion, because right now everyone's assuming it's going to flop, everyone's worried about the long term, and even if this fixes it, they still need to make a lot of money to prevent a PlayStation takeover. And I actually know people who worked at Bungie. Like, I know multiple Bungie employees who have now lost their jobs in the last line of layoffs, so I'm even more concerned about the morale there too. One person with knowledge of budgets at Bungie told me that nothing adds up, and something will need to happen to curb costs unless the final shape does so well to cover the gap and people can move to Marathon. Basically saying, like, this game needs to make, random number, $500 million for them ever to have the budget to also kind of coast, you know, enjoy it, like keep people hired, keep those people working on then maybe the next Destiny expansion. But like, if it drops to, let's say, $100 million, they're going to be like, hey, like, this is not cutting it. Everyone either go to Marathon, finish it up, or you're out. Like, we don't need you for the next Destiny game. Either go to Marathon if you don't fit those things, got to go find somewhere else to go work because we don't need you at this point. When Sony acquired Bungie, the studio bought it with a number of other incubation projects, and this is where things get scary, including a mobile-like game codenamed Gummy Bears and a new IP known as Matter. And we've actually covered up Matter, nothing about the MOBA, but I'd play that. I'd play League. I'd be down. According to sources, Matter was canceled back in 2020, but the team continued working on a similar project with a slightly different direction until that was also canceled late 2022. Gummy Bears, meanwhile, is currently in a holding pattern due to ongoing company struggles, basically saying like, hey, we have all this maybe like design work or rough idea, we kind of talked about it, we spent money on it, let's sit on it for now, but right now our big focus is on Destiny, the expansion, and Marathon. Within the company, there are growing expectations that senior company leadership will leave in droves, though, as well after the 2026 final payout. So basically, they had the acquisitions, probably like a 3-year, 4-year performance bonus, and after the 4th year, they're like, hey, you got paid an extra $1 million or Sony stock, okay, you're good to go, and we're either going to probably fire you, or you did what you had to do. Like, we made sure the company was running for the next 4 years, we can take over now if we need to. Kind of how they're doing for Activision Xbox. It takes a while, people have to still work, sometimes people get overlapped, or big heads don't need it, but either way. So with this in mind, there's a strong push to get Marathon out of the door before then, and let whoever takes the reins after that, be it Sony or Bungie, worry about how it's sustained. Basically saying, like, we want to get at least one big push on this no matter what, and let's see what happens. Because it's a big deal. Like, this is going to be a huge game. I want to play it. I'm excited for the game itself, too. So Bungie has found itself wrought by a number of shakeups in the recent years that have tanked morale at the Destiny studio. And like I said, I've met Destiny people, and they're rough. People are not happy. People are worried about their job. Like, I get it. Sony officially acquired the studio mid-2022, and with the promise it would largely retain a semblance of freedom as an independent subsidiary. While sources say it's largely remained true, Bungie has also struggled to meet these big financial targets, and Destiny 2 also significantly underperformed because people aren't buying stuff, spending money on it, and at the end of the day, they still haven't released games like Marathon and other various things. If I had to go control it, I'd probably let Bungie cook a little bit longer. Marathon looked cool, and if they have these all small subsidiaries, I think they have a really strong community of gamers with Destiny and Halo that would probably play it, at least check them out or buy it. And I do think that PlayStation's maybe jumping the gun a little bit, mainly because if you want these games to come out, try it. And maybe you release Marathon, it's a flop, then get rid of people, sure. Maybe the most recent Destiny expansion, it's a little bit of a weird one because they needed to switch up the game a while ago at this point. Almost every Destiny creator would say that. So it's kind of rough to see because they did just go lay off a bunch of people already, and that's probably one of the best cost measuring things they can. But at the same time, you can only lay off so many people to go and try to best and not to go cut off cost too as well. But as of right now, Bungie's position's weird. They are probably cutting games or canceling games. Marathon may be completely being changed. Destiny 2 may be on its last legs. I'm sure it's still going to have another expansion in the future. I'm sure people are still going to play it. But at the same time, it's not going to be as high as it must have been, and PlayStation does seem disappointed too at the end of the day. But this drama's been kind of going for a while, where it does seem like Bungie should be doing better. PlayStation expected them to do better. People are going to be getting laid off in the very near future, and it kind of stinks to go and see because at the end of the day, I like seeing new games, and Bungie usually has made pretty cool games. I'd rather them have the funding. I'd rather them throw out some YOLO games, and I don't want to play Last of Us Part 4 I don't mind, I probably would, but I want something new as well. So I want to hear your thoughts on all this down below. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch room down below in case you guys would like to go and follow. We have all the Samsung links too for their giveaway and pre-order bonus hashtag ad down below. And I want to hear all your thoughts and comments on all this ongoing drama too as well.